What's up, guys? My name is JC Kroupa, and welcome to Father Help Us, the show where only God knows what's next. Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all that good jazz. When this comes out, it'll probably be 28th or 29th, and I will be just about 28 years old on the 29th. And I just love Christmas, man. I'm not one of those like Christmas adults who make Christmas like their whole personality and that, the day after Thanksgiving or even before Thanksgiving, they're just like counting down the days and, they're wearing the stockings on their head and just acting like Disney adults, but the Christmas version. Not like that at all. But I do love Christmas, mostly because people are in such a great mood, unless you're my girlfriend. No, my girlfriend's, it's funny. So my girlfriend works with kids. She's incredible with kids. And where she works is like in Gilbert, Mesa, like the other side of town of where she lives. And I'm kind of like right in the middle. So every once in a while, she'll like stop by my house, just hang out. She cleans a lot, which is kind of her love language of showing me that she cares about me. And dude, love her so much. I remember she came over the other day. This is all during the Christmas season, by the way. Everything's going great. And I'm sleeping, didn't know she was going to be there. So already mad because I'm not a morning person at all. And things are happening in my house. When I wake up, I need 20 minutes of just silence in order to deal with the things that are going to happen that day. I'm just naturally cranky when I wake up, which she knows that, but it's fine. So she comes in my room, she's like rustling around, moving stuff. And so I finally open my eyes and I see her go into my closet and grab a jacket. Now, context. I bought this jacket a couple of years back and I went shopping. I think it was at like Macy's or some like TJ Maxx, like some place super random like that. And I found this jacket and I showed it to her and I said, this jacket is sick. It's a Basquiat jacket. It says New York all over it. It's super just like hipster and jazzy, like kind of my style. And she was not crazy about the jacket at all when I bought it. But I've worn the jacket before. If you scroll down on my Instagram, it's like that white New York jacket. I love that jacket. And I don't wear it a lot because it's not a jacket that you wear all the time. And my girlfriend has taken it upon herself at several different times to wear this jacket. I've told her repeatedly, hey, I don't want you to wear that jacket. The last time she wore the jacket, she got makeup on the jacket. And I had to put in the washer, and it's not the kind of jacket that you want to keep continuing to put in the washer. So, I look over at my girlfriend, I say, do not take that jacket. And she looks at me so confused, which sends me deeper into this ocean of rage that I feel is right below the surface of my consciousness. And she's like, please let me wear the jacket. And I'm like, no, I don't want you wearing that jacket. We've talked about this before. And she looks at me and she says, please, I'll buy you some coffee. Your boy loves coffee. I do. But you know what I like even more than coffee? Being listened to. And I say, I don't want you to buy me coffee. I want you to listen to me. You can take any other jacket, put my jacket back. And she throws a fit, dude. She throws a fit, man. So she storms out of the room. She's, doing stuff around my house. Meanwhile, I realize I can't go back to sleep. So I start scrolling on my phone. One of her friends throws us in a group chat and he sends a link to a Christian rave. Now, my girlfriend has been talking about for a very long time how she would love to attend a Christian rave because she's attended raves before and the more we kind of progress in our walk and understand the origin of raves and what they represent, we're just becoming less and less comfortable with attending, just regular raves. And so I see her friend send this link in a group chat. And I'm like, you know what? She's making me so mad, but I'm going to grease the wheels here. And I'm going to buy her these tickets. I'm going to buy us a couple tickets. And then her attitude will go away. And she'll realize I'm the greatest boyfriend of all time. So no hesitation. I click the link, purchase 2 tickets, send a screenshot, put in the chat. And she storms back into my room and she lets my dog jump all over me. I am so angry at this point, right? And she says, "That's the night of my birthday dinner." Oh, dude. Man, literally getting sick talking about this. And she says, "You never listen to me." So here's the thing. Early in the morning, trying to do something nice for my lady. And I'm thinking her friend is sending the link. So obviously, she's more than likely free that night. And I'm like, I'm just trying to do something nice. And she's like, "Fine, I'll figure it out." Da. And then she storms out, leaves my house. And the whole day, not the whole day. Okay, here's what you got to understand about me. When I'm mad, I am furious for like an hour or 2 tops. Like, don't talk to me. I am livid. Like, I'm not even beside myself. Like, if angry is beside myself, like I'm on Mars for like the next 2 hours. But like a sane person, I realize, oh, okay, I could have checked my tone, right? Like I'm the leader of our relationship. I could have handled it differently. I did not. I thought I was right in the moment. Still think I was right. And, but I could have handled that differently. So I'm trying to figure out, when to text her and like apologize. She's not texting me all day. And usually she calls me so many times during the day. And, she didn't call me at all. So I actually got a ton of work done. And by the way, if you guys can hear my dog barking, sorry about that. He's insane. Maybe I'll let you guys meet him one day. His name is Aries. She's not texting me all day, so I get so much work done. And then I finally get home after a long day at work, and I text her. I'm like, "Hey, I need to be a better man." Yeah, like sweet message. I should have, changed my tone. I should have approached the situation differently. Just kind of like taking accountability. Extreme Ownership, your boy. Great book, by the way. And she replies back to me. She's like, "I need to process what you're saying to me." So I'm like, okay, text her back. "Love you." Leaves me on red. Now I'm re-angered. Like, like when you leave, you light a fire the night before, and you come back out to relight the fire, and it's like so much easier because you did it the night. That's like how I'm feeling right now. Now I'm angry. So I text her back, "Okay," and she realizes that now I am angry, and she's like, "Hey, I'll call you after work," which she calls me during work all the time. And she finally gives me a call. She's all cheery and stuff, and I'm like, oh, excuse me. Okay, whatever. Like, she's like, "You want to talk about earlier?" And I was like, no, yeah, we kind of did. Like, apologize. Could have handled the situation differently. And she's like, "We can't talk to each other like that in our relationship. We have to be more respectful." And I'm like, babe, I didn't say anything wrong. You threw a tantrum because I would let you wear my jacket. I'm just saying I could have used a different tone. And we had this aha moment because we have such different attachment styles and we handle conflict so differently. And this is so important to realize in any relationship, not just romantic relationships, but friendships, working relationships, how people, like the way I want to handle conflict is I want to solve it right there and then. I want to grab the bull by the horns. Just because I change my tone of voice doesn't mean that I'm yelling. I I'm a very confrontational person in that regard. She's like the complete opposite. She needs to like remove herself from the situation, think it over, be calm, and then reattack the situation. But the way our minds process the conflict or the situation is completely different. Because for me, after a while, I'm like, we're arguing about a jacket. It's not that serious. Yeah, she made me mad. She knows I'm a cranky person in the morning. But ultimately, like, I love her more than being right, which is a lot because your boy loves being right, okay? But in her mind, she spirals. So she's like, he doesn't see me. He doesn't value me. He doesn't love me anymore. He's falling out. Like, didn't say any of these things, but that's the more detached she is from the situation, the more intense her feelings get about it. Whereas mine fade away and logic seeps in. It's like the opposite for her. And I'm not saying like my way is better or worse. We're just like different, in terms of our upbringing, our trauma responses, our attachment styles, things like that. So we had this moment on a phone call when we were Paula, and I just start like laughing. And she starts getting like frustrated, but I just keep laughing to the point where she kind of gets it and she starts lightening up. And I'm like, babe, love you with all my heart. Like, I want to marry you, spend the rest of my life with you. We were arguing about a jacket. This should have been at most an hour argument, and we cannot let this last all day. And it was a cool moment in our relationship. Because I feel like, we've been dating a couple years. There's about 6 months in there where we weren't dating. And just looking back at how unhealthy our relationship was a year ago to where God has brought it now, and just how we communicate differently. And, she prayed for us at the end of that argument. And, just our willingness to put God first and put the other person first. I don't think that component of our relationship was at least prevalent in the first round. And I'm just so grateful for her. I'm grateful for a lot of people too. I had my friend Sierra Jones, really, really good friend of mine, call me before recording this podcast. Well, not record. Okay, so I did this whole podcast and accidentally deleted the file. So this is the second go around. So this is the polished version. It's probably not even going to end up the same. Like, I have like a basic structure in my head of like the things that I want to talk about, and it usually never goes that way. So we're probably going to get completely different podcast. But she called me before the first round of me recording the podcast, and she was just telling me, because she watched it back when I did my podcast with my old friend, and she was actually telling me how she missed it right as I was planning, the new show. And so she called me, and she's like, "Oh, I loved episode 1," and just encouraging me and talking about how she didn't realize how much I love movies and film. And I talked way too much about movies last podcast. I might do something where, if you guys want it, maybe on a Patreon, I do like a weekly audio only, just like movie podcasts. Because I love movies. I just saw Avatar 3 and I want to talk about it and do spoilers, but I feel like it's a little too much. So if you guys want that, let me know. We'll see. I'm just trying to get the flow of this down, which I don't think I have because I literally deleted episode 2. But she's just being so encouraging and love her so much. She moved away. I met her at my last church, and she just celebrated 30, and I'm just proud of who she is and the friend she's been. And every time I talk to her, it's like we haven't missed a beat. And super dope sister of mine in Christ. And Sierra, I know you're listening to this. I love you and I appreciate you. And I had another buddy tell me it showcased all parts of my personality, episode 1. Thank you guys so much for the support on that first episode, by the way. And I think my dad gave me the best compliment, where he said it's me. And that's what I want this podcast to be, is me, Not that, sometimes I put on like get animated and put on a character telling stories and things of that nature. But I think that's part of my personality too. And, like I said, some podcasts and episodes will be super funny and a lot of fun. Some will be super serious. Last week I said we'll probably talk about Charlie Kirk, and I was planning the outline for that podcast and just getting really emotional. And I'm just not ready to have that discussion. So sorry to disappoint if you came here for politics, this podcast. But I'm just super blessed. Super blessed for my friends, for my lady, for being able to put a roof over my head, for the God I serve, working at a great church. It's so funny. I went Christmas caroling for the first time with my church. By the time this comes out, a couple weeks back, and I've never been Christmas caroling, and I don't even have to go. My supervisor, she's like, "Hey, if you want to go, let me know." And immediately I was like, dude, I'm 100% there. I've always wanted to go Christmas caroling because, like I said, I love Christmas, love St. Jingle Bells, Silent Night, Noel. Dude, sign me up. And I decided I was going to go all out. So ordered this Santa costume and, dyed my beard white, like with like face paint, basically. And I show up and everybody's laughing. And you guys really like the story I told about my supervisor's daughter last week. Teeny, she's there again, and she says, "Hi, JC." And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm Santa Claus, and now she's confused because she's 5, and like just turned 5. She's like, "No, you're JC," and I'm like, no, I know who you're talking about, and he's super handsome, but I'm Santa Claus, which gets the whole bus laughing. And so we just we're sitting on the bus, and she looks at me, and she's like, "You're not Santa Claus." And I look at her dead in the eyes, and I say, "I am Santa Claus." Now, we're doing this back and forth for the next 3 hours while we're traveling to nursing homes, Christmas caroling, on the bus. And, it gets to a point where, parents around me, adults around me, they're like, this guy's really dying with this bit, isn't he? And she sits next to me at some point on the bus drive. And she says, "I know you're trying to trick me. You are not Santa Claus." Now, most people in this situation would say, "Hey, yeah, Teeny, I'm just pretending, just trying to have a little bit of fun. You got me." Not me, dude. I look at her and I say, "I am Santa Claus." And the fury that flashes through her eyes, I wish I could bottle it up and just have it to look at and laugh at from time to time. And she goes to actually one of my high school leaders, and she's like, "Is that JC or is that Santa Claus?" Because your boy, like I said last week, is a thespian, and I'm making her question reality. And my freaking high school leader, she's like, "No, he's just pretending. It's really JC." And she comes back, she's like, "I knew it. So-and-so told me that you're JC." And I'm like, "I don't know why she told you that. I'm Santa." So funny. And, so we end this bus drive, and she's having borderline a mental breakdown because she is so confused as to why I'm so confident that I'm Santa Claus. And that's who I am as a youth pastor, dude. I have the best job in the world. It's funny. I feel like working at my church, there's so many talented and incredibly smart people. And then I'm just over in the youth building just screaming 6'7" with a bunch of kids. Oh man, I get paid a livable wage to do that. It's insane. And I'm so grateful for my church and just the church in general. It's funny. There's really a war being waged on the church, and it really started, I think, when I was a kid. There was this viral video that went around of I think it was a light-skinned guy doing a spoken word. You might be able to find it on YouTube. Super old video where it's, Jesus over religion, or Jesus is greater than religion, something like that. And I remember seeing that video as a young man, I don't know, like 11, 12, 13 years old. I think it was the coolest thing ever. Because in the video, the guy's like, religion sucks, Jesus saves, and saying all these terrible things about what religion does and how a relationship with Jesus is what you need, which on face value, absolutely true. You need Jesus. And now looking back, that ideology or movement or phrase or whatever you want to call it, I think has been one of the most damaging things to the American church in the past 20 years or so. Because this was like a thought and ideology, like before that video came out, I just think that video perfectly personified and it like conveyed what that thought was. And the church ran with that. Like even at my last church, my pastor would say all the time, like, religion kills and religion suffocates and all you need is Jesus, which all you do need is Jesus. But what started to happen is then people started to divorce the church from Christianity. And, to the point where I regularly meet people who legitimately think that the Bible doesn't say that we should go to church. Like Hebrews 10:25, forsake not the assembling of the righteous, as is the habit of some, as the day draws near. So already in the first century, you have this thought that, I don't really need to go to church. And the writer of Hebrews is saying, no, like, don't forsake the assembling of the righteous, the assembly, the ecclesia, right, is that Greek word. You guys are getting a theology lesson. Ecclesia is it's a gathering. It's the word we use for church. And people will argue all the time, well, I have my small group, I have my Bible study. And yeah, I guess by definition in the English language, an assembly, but that's not what the writers are talking about in the New Testament. We're talking about a structured, organized institution, right? And we see Christ talk about the church as his bride in the New Testament and how he's coming back for the church. Not he's coming back for, a few pockets of believers. He's coming back for the unified body of believers, as in the church. And over again, we see Israel and the church depicted as God's bride. Imagine if, you're married, right? To your husband or your wife or whoever. And I'm like, yo, Bridget, love you. Like you're a good friend of mine. Like, thank you so much for how kind you are to me. I'm a big Bridget fan. Like, you're my homie, Bridget. But your spouse, your husband, I don't really like Jake. I'm not a Jake guy. If Bridget didn't slap me in the face, at the very bare minimum, she'd say, well, like, we're a package deal, so we can't really be friends or cool, especially not to any sort of like deeper level if you're not gonna accept my partner, my spouse. It's the same thing with Christ and the church. We try to divorce the church from our walk with Christ ultimately, and this is big, it's because we don't want to sit under authority and have accountability. It's super uncomfortable, right? Like, you need to be in a community and body of believers who look different than you, think different than you, and that who you interact with and sit face to face with. That's where real formation happens. Those are the people who will exhort you and encourage you when you're loved one passes away, or you're going through a tough time. And those are the people who will hold you accountable and correct you when you're dealing with a porn addiction, or irresponsible spending, or you're being mean to your wife or your kids, or your husband or girlfriend, or whatever it is. And we're in this society, especially my generation, and I do think we're seeing a turn of this, but largely a generation that is okay sitting at home, watching a Stephen Furtick sermon, excuse me, listening to, Maverick City music and saying, that's my church. That's not church. And church hurt is real. And I have a friend I want to bring on at the podcast at some point. We'll do like a whole deeper dive into like what church hurt is. And he's got an incredible story in regards to that. And I have a ton of church hurt in my life too, from churches that I've just gone to and churches that I've worked at. But when you have a bad experience at a restaurant or a bar, or some of you clubs, you don't say, I'm not a club person. I'm not a concert person. I'm not a restaurant person. You just go to a different restaurant, bar, club, concert. Some of you go to the same exact one and just blame it on that incident and that situation. But we don't give the same grace to the house of God. Because of something that happened to me when I was young. That is so valid, by the way. Or because, someone in the church hurt me. I'm just not a church person. And I think you have to have the spiritual maturity. And it's hard, dude. It's hard because I've heard some awful stories and people have had awful, I heard it said once to me from a pastor, and I would say this is true over my life too. The best experiences in my life I've had in the church, and the worst experiences in my life I've had in the church. But that's what happens when anything is run by man, right? Which church is supposed to be spirit-led, but because we're sinful people, it's the same thing with any business, any school, any branch of government. Because sinful people are running it, it's going to hurt you at some point. And if you're plugged into a church that you love and you're serving, you are gonna get hurt at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Because people are just people. You think I set out to hurt my girlfriend's feelings when, we had that spat about the jacket? No, but I did, because I'm an imperfect human being. And I was not kind and compassionate in my tone and how I carried myself. And I forgot my role and mantle as a leader in our relationship. And I was not good enough. And it's going to happen again. And she's going to hurt me. Not even necessarily because she wants to, but because she's a person. And it's so easy to not go to church. Dude, I work at a church, and Sundays are basically my Mondays. And there's so many times where I'm like, dang, I wish I could watch Sunday Night Football tonight, but I got youth group. Or, I could go with my friends to go, I don't know, snowboarding or whatever they're doing on that Sunday. But in some sense, I'm glad. Not in some sense. I am glad that I work at a church, and I'm glad that I get to go to God's house every Sunday. And my church now is definitely not perfect, and no church is. But I think it's time for us as Christians to look in the mirror, and if that's you, find that church and find that body of believers. We live in such an individual society that the church we go to just has to meet all of our needs. And you should definitely find a church where, you like the worship, the preaching is good. They have, programs for, if you're a young adult or if you have a family, your kids, where the youth pastor is cool. But you should also be serving your church. You are the church. And if you don't like a church, especially one that you've been in for, a while. Why don't you be the change and help turn it around before you just cut bait? And that's the other thing, is just church hopping. And then people leave because they feel like, oh, I'm not being fed. Don't even get me started on that, dude. Like, it's not the pastor's job to feed you. It's the pastor's job to pastor you, which means giving you meat, spiritual meat on a Sunday morning, giving you programs to dive in deeper, being available for you in the capacity of, loving on you, guiding you to resources. And, at a smaller church, it's easier for the pastor to be more hands-on and part of your life. But at a bigger church, there's more resources for, programs. So it's, you got to kind of choose the route you want to go. But pastor can't make you pick up the Bible during the week. Like, that's on you, dude. I don't know. I didn't even think I'd talk about this for this long, but I did tell you guys I would watch Sideline. You guys loved the High School Musical breakdown last week, and that was so much fun. But we started that discussion because of a preview that I saw for the, Nice Catch, Cheer, Not My Name Quarterback movie, and watched both of the movies. And pretty much the first movie to a T, I got spot on, bullseye. Like, so the female lead, her name is Dallas, which is not a name. And she's like, a cheerleader and, a pretty girl, and she's super talented. She wants to, go to school for dance. So you're introduced to her, and her brother is also is also the coach. Her big brother is the coach of the football team. And so, you're introduced to her, and she gets to class, and then they're sitting in class, and the teacher calls the quarterback's name, who's not in class. And it cuts to him. And his name is also not a name. His name is Drayton Lay. Hey, that name is not a real name. The guy's name is Drayton. And so it cuts to him walking down the hall. He's wearing like a low-cut button-up short sleeve. And, tatted all over. And, the movie goes to great lengths to let you know they're all 18. Like, first 5 minutes, somebody makes like a joke about like crushing up Adderall. So you're like, oh, like this is a adult version of High School Musical, essentially. And, he's tattooed. He's got like way too many tattoos to be freshly 18, And so then he walks into class and he's like, present. And finally finds a seat. And, the girl kind of rolls her eyes, and she's like rustling through her stuff as the teacher is asking them about the play Romeo and Juliet, like they had homework. Hey, it's the first day of school. And, he asks Dallas, the girl, about, her thoughts on Romeo and Juliet. And she's like, oh, well, it just seems like threw their lives away for a one-night fling. It's kind of stupid. And Dre, chimes in, and he's like, I think they just wanted to have fun. And the whole class starts laughing. And that's the movie, essentially. So, the guy's like into her and wants to like date her, and she's like not really into him, and slowly he starts to win her over, and they have intercourse in the movie. Like, I just thought they were gonna kiss, but he also has a tattoo on his arm in Roman numerals of the number 18. Just to let you know that even though they're in high school, that everything you're seeing on screen is like fine. It's insane. So the only part that I got wrong was, usually in the movie it's like, the girl and the guy, they're together, and then the girl sees like some girl throw herself at the guy right at the time where it looks like they're, making out or whatever. And the guy's like, no, like it's not like that. And she's like, I can't trust you. So that doesn't happen. What ends up happening is at dinner, the guy basically says to his father, because he wants him to go play quarterback at Baylor, because that's where he went, his grandfather went. Like he's like a fourth generation legacy or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, well, you know, he's talking about all these schools he might be interested in, and he throws in like USC, which is like right across the way from where Dallas wants to go to school. And he's like, you're gonna throw your future away for like a girl, which super valid. Like I dated a girl in high school, and she was staying back in Wisconsin. I was coming out here to Arizona to go to GCU. And even me, like I was head over heels. I was like, I'm not gonna change my life for this girl. And thank God I did not. So the dad is like, right. He's like, why would you throw your life away for this girl you just started dating that like acts like she doesn't even want to be with you? Like she's one of those black cat kind of girls where, you know, everything is just a joke, and you know her way of showing affection is just like making fun of you all the time. Dude, I've dated girls like that. It's so exhausting. It's like, hey, can you tell me that you like me? You tell me you love me every now and then and appreciate me and actually, you know, be excited to be with me. And so Dallas finds out at dinner, and then they run outside, and she's like, you can't do that. That's insane, because it is. So she dumps him. So the rest of the movie is just like her realizing that she loves him. They get back together, but it's implied that he's going to go to Baylor. And, you know, they have this scene where they're, you know, in bed together and they're like crying. And she's like, maybe we'll find our way back to each other. And they go off to school, and she's walking down the hall at her, you know, performing arts college, and a football gets thrown her way and she catches it, which, you know, great reflexes. And she just hears, nice catch, chair. And she looks up and sees Drayton and screams, not my name, quarterback, and runs and hugs him. And he's like, yeah, I'm the starting quarterback at USC, which is crazy as a freshman. So he basically just like lied to her and was acting like he was going to Baylor and just like popped up on her. You know, how funny would it have been if he just like saw her hanging out with another dude? And that's how the movie ends. And then the second movie picks up right where that left off. And dude, I forgot to mention the craziest part actually. In the movie, she comes back home. This is the first movie. And she's like crying because she got in a fight with Drayton or whatever. And she sees her brother, the coach, huddled up with a teacher from school. And the teacher is a dude. And there's like no warning that the guy is gay at all. And it's hilarious, dude. Because it just hits you out of nowhere. And it's just like, it doesn't further like the plot or the story like at all. It's just so random. But I was laughing my tail off when that happened. But second movie picks up, and basically they're like growing apart in college. Gotta go my own way. Part 2. And essentially at the end, they decide that they're gonna break up, but that, you know, life might bring them back together. Because now apparently she's going to like New York for a show, to like be in a show. Dude, I don't know how like these kids' lives work. And they end up like not being together. And I really did appreciate that ending. And it reminds me of one of my all-time favorite movies, called Someone Great, which I think it's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. It's amazing. And they don't end up together in that movie either. Well, told you to watch it, immediately spoiled the end. You should watch it anyway because it's really funny. It's with the girl from Jane the Virgin, and that black guy who's in like a lot of, you know, artsy movies. And the movie is basically like this girl dealing with a breakup because she's been dating this guy for 7 years, which if you're with a guy for more than 3 years and he has not, even entertained or talked about a plan for wanting to marry, he doesn't want to be with you. Sorry. And you need to stop giving him wife privileges because there's no need for him to marry you. Just dating advice from, the least qualified guy to do it. But so in this movie, this girl's very career oriented and everything's happening in New York, of course. And, she wants to take a job to go to LA, and you see them like throughout the movie flashbacks of how they drifted apart. And the movie does a really good job of not making you choose a side. Like you can see it from his perspective and her perspective, like, oh, that was effed up. I kind of side with him. I kind of side with her. And they just like, they're completely different people. And, so the whole movie is her and a couple of the girls, basically gearing up for a rave or like concert at the end of the night, which Jessie Reyes is performing. Love Jessie Reyes. And I think there was that viral moment on TikTok a few years back when it came out before the Lizzo song got big, where she's like girls in her underwear in the kitchen and their friend comes in and they're singing, why men great so they gotta be great. And they're like singing it in the kitchen. That's that movie. But the movie's incredible because, the entire time you're thinking like, oh, they're obviously going to get back together because they love each other so much. And at the end of the day, she ends up choosing her. That's who the someone great is. And your heart is breaking at the end of it, but also happy because like this woman thinks she's crushed that she can't be with this person. And he's crushed too. But she chooses her because she's confident in who she is. And I think that's something that so many people lack, dude, so many. So many people won't say anything positive about themselves at all. We talked about this a little bit last podcast. But I just know so many people that, because I truly believe that you can be a Christian and not live up to the full potential that God has for you. I think God's plan is that magnificent and complex and vast that allows for free will and that you can live a life that is not up to everything he has for you and still, wind up in heaven. I don't think it's a salvation issue. I think it's a purpose issue. And I know so many people that settled in that relationship, that toxic relationship, or who are settling for that right now because they don't think that they'll be able to find someone better or that they're not good enough. Or they stay in a job and don't take that swing to start that business or, apply for that next job or move states or start that podcast. Or people that, just have such fear and crippling anxiety of what other people are going to think about them that it stops them from becoming the person they actually want to be. Like I talked about this with my producer, JT, your boy Prizzy, a couple months ago. Like when we were in college, like we had like 20 friends that wanted to do music, whether it was hip hop, country, pop, or like whatever it was. And they swore up and down, oh, we're going to make it big. We're all going to put each other on. We love music. And ultimately, I think for some of those people, it was just definitely a phase and, their lives are probably better served doing something else. But it's incredible to see because it's just him and I left. And that was a big thing that I had to figure out in my music, career too, for lack of a better phrase. Because I haven't dropped an album since 2020. I'm knee deep in working on one right now. But for the past 6 years, I've put out a really cool EP called Lion and the Lilies. I've dropped singles here and there, but nothing of crazy substance. And it was really because when I put out Half a Cloud in 2020, I was so proud of it. I'm still proud of it to this day. It's like my magnum opus. 2 weeks later, people are like, can't wait for what's next. And that crushed me. Something I spent a year and a half on, I don't know, maybe even 2 years crafting and putting out. And just people didn't appreciate it the way I did. Friends give me crap all the time because consistently every single year I'm on my Spotify top 5 list. And people are like, really? You're listening to yourself? You're on your Spotify? It's like, yeah, dude. Because I'm proud of the music I'm making. And screw you for trying to make me feel bad about it. I spent hours crafting that verse, writing those lyrics, obsessed with the rhyme scheme. We were in the studio tweaking the harmonies, trying different melodies. I selected the beat. I had a hand in crafting the production and the sound and how the chorus hits and the pre-chorus. And I tore down verses and rewrote verses and I packaged it and I paid for the feature and the cover art I helped design and all these things. Why wouldn't I? Like, I make music that I like. And now I'm at the point where musically I'm just so happy that because I know I will do it till I die. And I had to figure out and be okay with, you know what? It's okay if my music's never played on the radio, if I'm never signed to Reach Records or Columbia or Atlantic, if I never have a song that breaks 1 million streams. Because I make this music for me. Now, I make it so that it's digestible. I still want people to, I want new listeners and people to, support the brand and identify with it. But at the end of the day, I have to be happy with what I'm doing, whether it's in music, in my profession, and how I treat people. Because at the end of the day, when I put my head on a pillow at night, I have to be happy with who I am. Something I've been thinking about recently is that I want to continue my education. So I'm about a year out from getting something called Master of Divinity, getting it from the GCU seminary. And a Master of Divinity is like the pastor degree. Like almost every pastor has a Master of Divinity or like a Master of Christian Leadership or something like that in a seminary, which is like a theology school. And the Master of Divinity teaches you like theology, but also like pastoral care and things of that nature. So after I get this degree in about a year, I'll have kind of like the last thing marked off on like the list of at least formal things to be a pastor. Not that a year from now, I'll be ready to be a lead pastor somewhere. I don't have that experience, but I've been thinking about, pursuing a PhD and, because I love theology, big theology nerd. I love the Bible. And so for the longest time, I wanted to get a PhD in, like systematic theology or apologetics or maybe like New Testament. And I've realized recently that, not recently, but it's become blatantly obvious to me recently that there is little utility for an intelligent person of color in the evangelical non-denominational church. But something that I believe is ineffable and something that can beat the handicap that I have when it comes to that is leadership. And so I've been looking at a program of doing or PhD of doing like Christian leadership, and they have a cognitive like church revitalization, because I think the church has a ton of very smart people in it, but not very good leaders. And the church definitely needs better leaders. And I've had the ability and to be under great leadership, like I would say I am now. And also the blessing to be under not so great leadership and to learn from that as well. And So I was actually on a Zoom call with a program director of like a PhD program like that. And, we're going through and having this conversation. And, I bring those kind of concerns up. And, he's asking me more about it. And like, why do you feel that way? And, when I've told a couple people in my life, specifically professionally, that, maybe I want to be a teaching pastor and write books. And I thought, maybe a PhD in systematic theology would help me with that. And I had a couple people kind of raise their eyebrow. And I think a lot of that has to do with, intentionally, I want to come off as a laid back guy, down to earth, because I do think I am those things. And I love being goofy and having fun. I always thought, like, growing up, one day, like, when I'm an adult, like, I won't be as goofy and I'll be more serious. And I feel like I'm never really, I'm only, 28 by the time this comes out. So maybe I guess I could, but I also, like, don't want to be. I think people take themselves and life way too serious. And so when people look at me and they realize that I'm actually smart, it kind of shocks them and surprises them. But when I talk about, I think also the fact that I am a person of color colors that perception as well. And it's something that's difficult for me to talk about. I'm going to cry on episode 2. It's crazy. And the reason why I can't do the Charlie Kirk episode right now, because I have friends that I love a lot. Like my 3 best friends on planet Earth are all white. And there's a couple of them that when I talk about this kind of thing, it gets awkward. And growing up as a biracial man in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, not a lot of people realize that Milwaukee is top 2 or 3 most segregated city in the United States. It's like New York is number 1, which New York is nuts. It's crazy segregated. And then Milwaukee is like 2 or 3 on that list. And in the inner city of Milwaukee, it's about 60% black. So I grew up in public school, predominantly black, and then I went to, private Christian high school. The first couple of years was predominantly white, and then there was kind of like a shift those last couple of years. And I remember growing up, playing with, a white girl on the playground, and, her parents giving me like weird looks, and then her not wanting to play with me all of a sudden. I remember, driving my car in Wisconsin and a police officer pulling me over and telling me I had a bad taillight, and then telling my dad about it and him saying there's nothing wrong with your taillights at all. Like I remember those things. And the fact that I have to talk about my experience, my ethnic experience in America, culturally, in tandem with politics, is really sad to me. I remember it's like 2008. I can't remember how old I was, like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I heard all these terms because that was the Obama-McCain election. Like for the first time, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, left, right. And, I asked my dad, it'll be interesting to see if he remembers this, but I have a vivid memory of this. And I asked my dad, hey, Dad, what's the difference between Republican and Democrat? And my dad has always been a staunch Republican. I would say he's a lot less conservative now. I don't think we've actually talked about it too much. But because he actually voted third party last election. And not to air out your business, Dad, sorry. But he said, well, Democrats, say a lot of things and make a lot of promises and don't always follow through on them. They don't have really a plan to pay for all these promises. And Republicans are a lot more conservative and realistic in what they can do, like something along those lines. And so I looked at my dad confused and I said, so then Why isn't everybody a Republican? And he said, now you're asking the right question. And that was my introduction into politics. And my mom was a Democrat. And so seeing that dynamic growing up was really interesting. And it was very interesting to me because I never felt like, and I still don't feel like a lot, that I really identify with any group. Like, I never felt black enough for the black kids or white enough for the white kids. Like, when most of America looks at me, they see, black man, like light skinned, biracial, but he's a black man. When black people look at me, they're like, he's black, but he's not black. I remember in college, we were playing Quiplash, great game, and the N-word came on the screen. And, this white girl that I was friends with said it, and I said, hey, don't say that. And she threw a fit. And we ended up having another discussion about it. And she told me to my face that she felt like she could say the N-word because she had friends that were blacker than me who told her that she could say it. Never forgot about it. So many therapy sessions. And maybe we can talk about, the implications of the N-word in another podcast. But I don't feel like theologically I'm completely conservative or completely progressive. I don't think that I fit, between red or blue on the political scale. At this point, I hate saying that I'm even on the spectrum because I don't want to be Republican and I don't want to be Democrat. I don't want to align myself with any of those parties. I want to align myself with the kingdom of God because most of these people, overwhelmingly, they don't care about you and I. They don't. And I see these people put so much faith in a political candidate or political party or a certain brand of theology or in their career or what they do for work. And ultimately, it comes from a place of identity and you not knowing who you are, because none of us really know who we are outside of the identity that we're given in Jesus Christ. And so I struggle with talking about things like this because I think that as soon as I say something that's, conservative leaning or liberal leaning, I'm put into this box by people that I know and that people that I love. And I don't think I fit in any box. I'm me. And I can have a wide variety of opinions and thoughts on things that don't completely line up with a certain denomination or certain political party, and that's okay. But so often people try to minimize me, and I'm sure this happens to you in your lives too, and caricaturize you and lump you into a group that most of the time you're really not. And sometimes we do it to ourselves. And we want to be a part of that pack. And for a really long time, I wanted to be a part of a pack. And I wanted to belong. And so many abandonment issues that I've gone to therapy for. But my entire life, I felt like I don't belong. I don't belong as a Republican or a Democrat. I don't belong as a black man or a white man. I don't belong in a certain group of people. I don't belong with the cool kids. I don't belong with the hyper Christians. I don't belong with the atheists or the world. I don't belong with any of these people until eventually Jesus said, you belong with me. I think you're cool. You're my first pick at recess. You're my best friend. I want you in my party, in my kingdom. And we have lost the ability to extend that same love to the people around us. I don't know if I can get on this podcast and I can talk about my experience in this country, and I can share my views and my thoughts on Charlie Kirk or Trayvon Martin or Breonna or like any of these things, because it legitimately might impact my career. But at the same time, I also don't want to live in fear. And I also want to be open to changing my mind and my opinion on things as I continue to learn and grow in this life. And I don't know where along the way we lost the art and ability to be able to do that. Father, help us. Way more serious episode. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys, all 16 of you listening to this. Just do me a favor, like, subscribe, share. Follow us on Instagram at Father Help Us Podcast. You can follow me on all the stuffs at JC Kroupa, Kroupa. Until next time.